Chapter 12. Assignment of the floor and debate. 42. Rules governing assignment of the floor. The manner in which a member obtains the floor is described in 330 through 35 with an initial treatment of the principal rules governing the assignment of the floor under ordinary conditions in most business meetings. More complete rules affecting the assignment of the floor are contained in this section. Before a member in an assembly can make a motion or speak in debate, he must claim the floor by rising. Note, in small boards and in committees, members generally need not rise to obtain the floor, see 4921-1, back to reading, and addressing the chair is described in 331, and must be recognized by the chair. The chair must recognize any member who seeks the floor while entitled to it. The chair normally recognizes a member, thereby assigning the floor to him by announcing, as applicable, the member's name or title, or the place or unit that he represents. If necessary, the member, either on his own initiative or at the request of the chair, should state his name, with any appropriate additional identification, as soon as the presiding officer turns toward him after he has risen and addressed the chair. Variations in the granting of recognition are as follows. If only one person is seeking the floor in a small meeting where all present can clearly see one another, the chair may recognize the member by merely nodding to him. If a speech is prearranged, or if several members are attempting to claim the floor at once in a large meeting, a wording frequently used by the chair in granting recognition is, "The chair recognizes Mr. Smith." Whenever a member rises and addresses the chair at a time when the floor can be granted only for limited purposes, and the chair is not certain that the member understands this fact, for example, when an undebatable question is immediately pending as explained in 4212, the chair, before recognizing the member, asks, "For what purpose does the member, or the gentleman, or the lady, or, as in Congress, the gentlewoman, rise?" If members remain seated around a conference table and do not rise, the chair may ask, "For what purpose does the member address the chair?" Except by unanimous consent, 458 through 63, motion can be made only by one who has been recognized by the chair as having the floor. If a motion is called out by anyone who has not obtained the floor, the chair must not treat it as having been properly moved if another member, by rising promptly and claiming the floor, shows that unanimous consent has not been given. When assigned the floor, a member may use it for any proper purpose or a combination of purposes. For example, although a member may have begun by debating a pending motion, he may conclude by moving any secondary motion, including the previous question, Chapter 16, that is in order at the time. Assignment of the floor when more than one person claims it. If two or more rise at about the same time claiming the floor, the general rule is that, all other things being equal, the member who rose and addressed the chair first after the floor was yielded is entitled to be recognized. A member who rises before the floor has been yielded is not entitled to the floor if any other member rises afterward and addresses the chair. Note, for modification of these rules in large assemblies, see 4216, back to reading. Under a variety of particular conditions, however, when more than one member claims the floor at about the same time, the best interests of the assembly require the floor to be assigned to a claimant who was not first to rise and address the chair. Such a claimant to the floor in these cases is entitled to preference in being recognized or preference in recognition. A member cannot rise to claim preference or recognition after the chair has already recognized another member. However, there are a number of purposes for which a member who has been assigned the floor may be interrupted, see 4218 through 19. A member who sought the floor for such a purpose before the floor has been assigned is likewise entitled to preference and recognition. Thus, if there may be no other opportunity, a member is entitled to preference and recognition to give notice of intent to introduce a motion requiring such notice, 1047 through 50, or to make a motion to reconsider, 37, or to reconsider and enter on the minutes, 3746 through 52, even when another motion is pending or a series of motions connected with taking up a single item of business is being disposed of. Consider 4213, 2 through 3. When the chair has just reported to vote, a member is entitled to preference and recognition to make an appropriate motion that the vote be taken again by another method. 30. Other rules governing preference and recognition may be grouped as relating to cases when a debatable question is immediately pending, when an undebatable question is immediately pending, and when no question is pending. Preference and recognition when a debatable question is immediately pending. While a motion is open to debate, 1. If the member who made the motion that is immediately pending claims the floor and has not already spoken on this question, he is entitled to be recognized in preference to other members. Under some particular cases or variations of this rule, the members entitled to preference and recognition are A. In the case of a motion to implement a recommendation in a committee's report, the reporting member who presented the committee's report to the assembly. B. In the case of a question that has been taken from the table, 34, the member who moved to take it from the table, and C. In the case of a motion to reconsider, 37, the member who made the motion to reconsider, not necessarily the one who may have called it up. See 3710C and 3715 through 16. No member who has already had the floor in debate or on the immediate pending question is entitled to it again on the same day for debate on the same question so long as any member who has not spoken on the question claims the floor. 3. In cases where the chair knows the person seeking the floor have opposite opinions on the question, and the member to be recognized is not determined by one or two above, the chair lets the floor alternate, as far as possible, between those favoring and those opposing the measure. In large assemblies, various devices are sometimes used to assist the chair in following these rules, such as having members seeking recognition hold up cards of different colors, go to different microphones for and against, or the like. In the case of an appeal, or point of order that the chair has submitted to a vote that is debatable, the chair is entitled to speak once in preference to any member seeking the floor and a second time at the close of the debate. See 2319 and 2435. When a member has moved to reconsider the vote on a motion for the announced purpose of amending the motion, if the vote is reconsidered, he must be recognized in preference to others in order to move his amendment. This rule also applies to reconsiderations of amendable motions that are not debatable. See list on page T47, as noted below. Preference and recognition when an undebatable question is immediately pending. When the immediately pending question is undebatable, pages T46 and T47, the member who moved it has no preference to the floor. When an undebatable motion that can be amended is reconsidered for that announced purpose, however, the maker of the motion to reconsider, 37, is entitled to preference and recognition, as explained in the preceding paragraph. Preference and recognition when no question is pending. Cases where a member is entitled to preference and recognition when no question is pending occur as follows. 1. When a member who has been assigned to offer a motion which a special meeting was called to consider, or an important prearranged main motion at any meeting, that member is entitled to prior recognition and no other members are permitted to intervene in an effort to offer another motion in competition. 2. When a desired object requires a series of motions, each of which is moved while no question is pending, and when the assembly has disposed of one motion in such a series, the next motion in the series has the right of way, and for the purpose of making that motion, the chair recognizes the member who is presenting the series, even if another member has risen and addressed the chair first. For example, A. When a question has been laid on the table, 17, for a legitimate purpose, to enable the assembly to take up a more urgent matter, the member who moved to lay on the table is entitled to preference and recognition to introduce the urgent business. B. When the rules have been suspended, 25, to enable a certain motion to be made, the member who moved to suspend the rules is entitled to the floor to make the motion involved. 3. Similarly, when a motion has been voted down at the urging of a member who stated in debate that in such event he would offer a different motion on the same subject, see 1035, that member is entitled to preference and recognition so that he may introduce his alternative motion. 4. When no question is pending and no series of motions has been started and a member has risen seeking the floor to make a main motion, another member is entitled to preference and recognition if he addresses the chair and states that he rises for one of the following purposes. A. To make a motion to reconsider and enter on the minutes, 37, 46 through 52. B. To move to reconsider a vote, 37. C. To call up a motion to reconsider in its regular or special form, 37, has been made earlier. D. To give previous notice, 1044 through 50. E. To move to take a question from the table, 34, when it is in order to do so. Or F. To make a motion for which previous notice has been given. If members come into competition and rising for these purposes, they have preference in the order in which the 6 actions are listed above. Time limits on making the motion to reconsider and shorter limits on its special form to reconsider and enter on the minutes account for first preference of these 2 motions in such cases. Assignment of the floor by vote and appeals. If the chair is in doubt as to who is entitled to the floor, he can allow the assembly to decide the question by a vote, in which case the member receiving the largest vote is entitled to the floor. If at any time the chair makes a mistake and assigns the floor to the wrong purpose when more than one member rose and addressed the chair promptly, a point of order can be raised. Except in a mass meeting, the decision of the chair in assigning the floor can be appealed from by any 2 members, one making the appeal and the other seconding it. 24. Note: in a mass meeting, the chair's decision in assigning the floor is not subject to an appeal. In a very large body other than a mass meeting, if the best interests of the assembly require that the chair be given greater power in assigning the floor, a special rule that there shall be no appeal from his decision in granting recognition can be adopted. See 214 and following. See also in regard to standing rules in the convention, 5927 and following. Variations in large assemblies. In large conventions or similar bodies, some of the rules applicable to the assignment of the floor may require adaptation, which, pending the adoption of appropriate convention standing rules and special rules of order, the chair may direct. For example, in a large hall where microphones are in use and members must walk some distance to reach one, members may be asked to line up at numbered microphones. They may be recognized in numerical order, or someone may list them for the chair in the order in which assistant sergeants at arms turned on lights affixed to the microphones. It may be provided that a member who has a priority matter, such as a point of order, may ask the assistant at the microphone to flash the light to so indicate. Should a member, called in whatever order is established, move an amendment or other debatable motion, others awaiting a turn should stand aside unless their debate is germane to the new motion. If the previous question or motion no longer debate is moved, members who have been waiting in line cannot validly protest. As in all other cases, the chair cannot choose the occasions when such motions will be in order. He may advise the assembly that, if it wishes to continue debate and hear from those waiting in line, a minority greater than 1/3 has this within its power. If ushers are equipped with hand microphones and a microphone is carried to each member who is recognized, the standard rules in 42.6 can be followed. Interruption of a member assigned the floor. When a member has been assigned the floor and has begun to speak, unless he begins to discuss a subject when no motion is pending or speaks longer in debate than the rules of the assembly allow, he cannot be interrupted by another member or by the chair except for one of the following purposes, and then only when the urgency of the situation justifies it. A. A call for the orders of the day, 18, when they are not being conformed to. B. The raising of a question of privilege, 19. C. A point of order or the calling of the member who has the floor to order, 23 and 61, or the chair is calling this member's attention to the fact that he is failing to observe the rules of speaking, 61, 10 through 11. D. A call for a separate vote on one or more of a set of independent resolutions on different subjects, or a divisible set of amendments that may have been offered by a single motion, see 1025, 1214, and 2710 through 11. E. A request or inquiry, chapters 32 and 33, that requires an immediate response, or in certain special circumstances, these additional purposes. F. An appeal, 24. G. An objection to the consideration of the question, 26. Or H. A division of the assembly, 29. After a member has been assigned the floor, but before he has begun to speak, it is in order to take any of the steps listed above, and also, if there may be no other opportunity, to rise for the purpose of A. Giving notice of intent to introduce a motion requiring such notice, 1044 through 50, or B. Making a motion to reconsider, 37, or to reconsider and enter on the minutes, 3746 to 52. If an interruption occurs for any of the reasons listed above, the member who had the floor does not lose it, although he takes his seat while the interrupting matter is being attended to. As soon as the interruption has been disposed of, the chair directs him to rise and proceed by saying, for example, Mr. Lewis has the floor. If a member presenting a committee report or other document to the assembly hands it to the secretary or a reading clerk to be read, the member does not thereby yield the floor, but has it again when the reading is finished. When a member has risen to claim the floor or has been assigned the floor, it is out of order for another to call out a motion to adjourn, or a motion to lay the pending question on the table. If someone does so, or if calls of question are made, it is the duty of the chair to obtain order and protect the rights of the member who is entitled to the floor.